started. Good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? We love this card. We've got here our King of Cups. And if this card looks familiar, it's because we've been pulling it lately, and we love pulling this card because this is identifying, particularly for masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, coming into emotional balance. Masculine energy, I know I've been seeing it. I know that there's been some moments right now that have been emotionally triggering for you. You've been feeling a bit of the emotional overwhelm. The energy of masculine right now, having that experience, allowing oneself to feel the full breadth of your emotions. And this is the important part, not letting it stir you into a point of volatility or reactivity, not feeling like you need to necessarily do something, not necessarily having it necessarily render a reaction, is the pathwork right now that is allowing you to come into better emotional balance with the feminine emotional energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Specifically due to the fact that we see that for a lot of the masculine energy going through this pathwork right now, this is that moment of wanting to be able to feel the validation point of feeling the full expansiveness of one's experience in relation to what and how you feel. Masculine and feminine energy right now, this is a validation point in how far one has effectively come in your own healing journey. Masculine energy, feeling the power of the being in the divine union frequency, has been a lot about the amplification of feeling like you are having a safe space that not only have you been cultivating. This is the result, the fruits of your effort. You're cultivating an energy right now of the feminine. We've been seeing the feminine coming into their own masculine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Coming into mutual alignment is creating a space where the feminine is also creating a space now that is allowing you to be your most vulnerable, emotionally expressive self, but not feeling like that is a damaging place to be, because this is a feminine energy that's almost showing you through their own ability to stand in their own power and to stand with you, almost guarding and feeling supportive of seeing you in this vibration, the value of being in the divine union frequency, because the frequency itself is one that is helping you become more comfortable in your own skin. It's allowing you to feel this expansiveness, but that expansiveness is coming internally because it's that moment of feeling validated to be able to process and expose and articulate upon the full breadth of your own emotional understanding of the self. It's almost the divine union creating this playground through which you can experience the full breadth of your emotions and know that the feminine energy that is similarly on this pathwork is going to do everything they can, seeing you in this space, to create and amplify how safe and secure you are in that modality, to be in that that role, to be in that and not feeling, and this is the important part, not feeling like you are abandoning your own masculine energy, but almost feeling the expansiveness, almost feeling like that's a point of even reaching a deeper level of vulnerability is almost helping you come into touch with your own masculine energy because it is finding strength through vulnerability. Feminine, you may be seeing this on the part of a masculine energy. That ability, that robustness, that articulation, that amplification of masculine is almost being expressed in the fact that this isn't necessarily a masculine that is having to take a reactivity point in feeling their feelings, but is becoming more adept at being able to express them, being more adept as being able to hold them. A lot of this is coming through the pathwork that we saw of masculine intentionally going towards situations and circumstances right now, and again, not necessarily needing a reactivity point, moving in a way that they're almost abandoning the desired outcome for the sake of recognizing that having that modality, doing something for the sake that one feels like it is just the thing that one needs to do, is the healing, the emotional expression here that is showing how far masculine has come in the divine union frequency. So this is that moment that feels like the amplification of accomplishment in seeing how well the masculine is able to navigate this territory of feeling something that almost requires a vulnerability point, but almost being able to navigate and express throughout it. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is masculine potentially coming into that point of contentment, feeling that comfort level, starting to understand and run and recognize the real true value of being in divine union is not necessarily just having another person there with you, but recognizing that this is a place or space that almost feels like a safe haven, somewhere where you can be your most true, authentic expression of self, and being able to almost allow that amplification right now as it relates to feeling that fulfillment of your own emotional needs is what is almost helping you right now coming into divine union frequency in feeling a level or degree of contentment. We even see for a lot of energy right now coming into divine union, that point of discernment, that observation in seeing and recognizing that this is feminine energy that's leaving a point of allowing you to express your feelings and almost allowing that clarity of perspective is helping you feel like it is safe to be your most authentic expression of self. It's creating a point of emotional balance because it's not the fact that you're feeling an emotion and having it be a reactivity point right now. It's almost the ability of recognizing that you don't necessarily feel like you need to necessarily go anywhere because the divine union is creating that point of contentment. Feminine seeing masculine in this modality, again, maybe even potentially, because we see for a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, it's not the fact that there haven't been triggering circumstances occurring right now outside the union, but having that point of masculine almost taking a more of a laissez-faire attitude towards it is amplifying to feminine that this is a masculine energy that isn't moving into divine union to elicit a reaction from outside energy. More, this is a masculine that is building a sense or a center within the heart of the divine union frequency. And that in itself for feminine is starting to amplify as feeling like this is a masculine energy that they can, again, further open up to, because we even saw here that there's something about the feminine opening up right now and masculine not getting reactive to it, but almost again expanding their own feelings for the feminine in seeing and recognizing a feeling of a feminine that is becoming more vulnerable and thus opening up more to masculine is reaffirming for the energy right now coming into divine union that this is a safe space for the feminine to be. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming, that is in separation. One of the things that we are seeing right now that is being amplified is this sense of, again, feminine not feeling like they can elicit this out of a masculine energy. This is why we see that for a lot of the feminine energy right now in separation, this is why the feminine energy isn't necessarily trying to navigate masculine into divine union. They're just trying to ascertain if masculine is invested in moving in that way. This is feminine almost looking at masculine and saying, I recognize that you're either there or you're not. Feminine's almost identifying that there's very little that they can do to almost try to convince the masculine about the viability of that. If the masculine's not bringing it forward, then feminine's just like, it's like a yes or no question, which is why we see that a lot of the feminine energy right now is almost trying to tell masculine, even in separation, I am only seeking from you one thing and one thing only. Be emotionally honest. Be emotionally vulnerable. Tell me what you need. Give me the opportunity to show you whether I can meet you there. Masculine, you may be feeling like this on the part of a lot of the feminine energy around you, even in separation right now. A lot of the feminine energy asking you what it is that you're truly seeking, but not necessarily to try to elicit some kind of reactivity point in you, just from a state of understanding so that they can kind of try to match your energy. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is 2 cards coming out right now. We like this, but this is also showing why feminine energy asking the masculine, if in separation, to be this emotionally vulnerable is potentially so triggering for a lot of masculine energy in separation right now, because this could be feeling for a lot of the masculine energy like something that they are learning to inhabit. Masculine energy, this could even be trying to break through a lot of conventional thinking that may have led you to this point. Because we're seeing that what's really happening right now for a lot of the masculine energy and separation is coming into that space of recognizing and being called forth to the feminine to be emotionally honest feels like it's triggering an abandonment wound that may have even been taught to you by masculine energy of the past or masculine energy that you grew up with. Because to a certain extent, we're almost seeing here for a lot of masculine energy, that act or that determination point that told you that you couldn't be expressive in this capacity, that you couldn't be in that modality of being open about how you feel, of not being able to come through and to express yourself because it would lead you to being abandoned. This is how you're healing the internal wound right now, because that observation point, and it's going to feel somewhat triggering to some energy right now, recognizing that is almost making you confront your internal self, to confront the energy within you that told you that there's something about this, that told you that this approach was not one that you could embody, that was not one that you should embody, is almost allowing a lot of the masculine energy, even in separation right now, to heal. It's allowing the possibility to effectively recognize that that in itself is where the abandonment wound potentially sprung from. And we even see that for a lot of the masculine energy right now in separation, this could be amplifying the fact that you're trying to get some insight from other masculine energy that is similarly doing this path work right now to help recognize how and why coming from a place of emotional vulnerability feels like it is so potentially triggering. So we appreciate this because we see that even for a lot of the masculine energy right now in separation, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, there's a lot of this internal path work that is coming into play. Masculine and feminine energy in separation, this could even be a moment that feminine is recognizing that something about asking the masculine to come forward in this way feels like it triggers something for the masculine energy. But this is exactly why we see that the feminine energy is trying to have these difficult conversations, even recognizing to a certain extent that there may be something about this that feels like it may trigger an abandonment wound in the masculine, because this is feminine energy that is almost amplifying and recognizing and trying to say to masculine energy through the ability of saying to masculine, be open to me, be emotionally vulnerable, give me the ability to show you that if you show up from an emotionally vulnerable place, I will support you in that modality. This is almost feminine saying this to masculine to a certain extent, because the one thing that the feminine energy is effectively trying to navigate right now is that when masculine energy stands in stoicism, when masculine energy refuses to tell the feminine how they're feeling, that's the only thing that actually triggers an abandonment wound in the feminine. That when masculine energy retreats into the self and refuses to open up in this capacity and degree, that is the abandonment wound of the feminine. Feeling the masculine that closes their self off emotionally and only gives feminine this stoic facet is not what the feminine desires or aspires. It's not inspiring the feminine to chase after the masculine. It's almost something that the feminine is working to heal right now, because again, coming into a modality of co-creators, coming into a modality of sharing and growing together requires a level or degree of emotional vulnerability to be able to experience divine union instead of calling something a partnership without actually being in one. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency right now, this observation point is what we're effectively seeing is allowing for a level or degree of healing for the masculine right now, because this is a moment that we see that masculine is feeling that dual contentment moment in relation to being able to fully express one's own emotionality, and also feeling like the divine union itself is that space or place that you are creating that is creating a separateness from the world around you. This is why we see that a lot of masculine energy right now coming into the divine union frequency is almost potentially calling back a lot of their energy right now, because it's almost amplifying to the masculine the value and the differentiation point between what you're creating within the divine union that feels like it is expanding versus the energy outside that may not necessarily understand it. And for masculine energy, this could even be feeling like a moment of personal growth, because this could even be a moment that you are recognizing that you didn't understand it, and now that until you're in it. This is that moment that's almost amplifying for a lot of masculine energy, if you haven't been in this modality before, exactly that feeling and seeing what that change elicits in you, because it's almost that moment that you may be feeling that you're becoming very protective around partnership, but it's that recognition that this isn't you necessarily getting protective about a person so much as you are getting protective about what you are creating with a person. feminine energy, seeing masculine starting to think in this larger approach, thinking again about what you're creating, not just about whether you guys are in together or not, but what you're creating together in this way, in this expansiveness, is almost allowing this ability of feminine feeling the security that again, what you're creating is so unique, is so important, is so valuable, because again, it's starting to feel like you are letting go of things in favor of what you're creating together. And it's that feeling right now of, again, feeling and sharing experiences that feel very intimate and unique between you in the divine union, and understanding that the energy outside of it may never necessarily have full clarity, because the preciousness of what you're creating feels so profound. It feels so divine. It feels so uniquely yours. Masculine and feminine that are in the divine union frequency, you are used to this. You've been in this frequency. You know that you've already established this to a certain extent. One of the things that we're effectively seeing right now, again, for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, is a moment of personal expansion of the self. And what we're almost identifying for a lot of the masculine energy right now, even coming into that moment of emotional vulnerability, it feels like it's somewhat triggering, because we're seeing right now for the masculine energy, you are going right now through a modality wherein you are feeling very emotionally balanced, but that emotional balance right now, that sense of contentment, is almost amplifying your own commitment to being able to preserve what you have created within the divine union. And even now, masculine energy, you may be feeling like you're doing a lot of internal path work in divine union, even potentially encountering your own, much like the energy in separation, your own abandonment wounds, your own previous triggers, because we see here that for a lot of the masculine energy right now, there's almost an intentionality right now of being able to proceed further on your emotional journey, pushing things even further through, because we're seeing here that this is you trying to almost amplify your own healing journey. And again, for some of this masculine energy right now, this is almost looking right now and asking oneself, what can you do to put practical application to what feels like it is a feeling of emotional stability? This is almost that moment, that need, that desire of the masculine to want to take something internal and make it external, make it tangible. Feminine, you may be seeing this on the part of the feminine masculine energy right now. And for feminine as well, that desire to take that journey and make it tangible in some way is almost being expressed. One of the challenges here for the feminine is, again, navigating situations and circumstances, potentially around past situations wherein feminine is trying to build that point of nuance in terms of amplifying how and what they want to heal right now, because we see here that this is a feminine energy that is similarly matching masculine in this modality, encountering their own unhealed triggers, but intentionally doing so, specifically because this is a feminine energy that feels the security and stability of a masculine that is not only emotionally there to do this work with them, but also practically there. So again, a lot of healing coming through right now for the energy and divine union. But even in separation right now, we see that this is a point of productivity, especially for feminine energy and separation right now. Again, some of that modality that we're seeing of feminine trying to bring a lot of information to masculine right now, and almost amplifying that something about the feminine in separation right now, articulating this to masculine, because feminine almost refuses not to express something right now for fear of masculine abandoning, because feminine wants to be in a modality where they feel like they can be with a masculine that will allow them to be able to do this type of path work. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is Wheel of Fortune. This is going to have a different impact depending on where you are on these frequencies right now. If you are in the divine union frequency right now, it may be feeling like there isn't a lot of progress right now, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I keep amplifying right now that often when we see the energy in the divine union, it's not necessarily a moment where your aspiration is to push things forward. Because again, if you're on a bus and the bus stops somewhere and the view's nice, so you might just want to kind of extend that to a certain extent. So we see here that's that amplification point right now. This isn't a desire or a need right now that's amplifying about needing to push things forward. But again, being able to hold on to a feeling, being able to navigate, being able to extend that feeling, to push it outwards right now, is almost, again, the beauty and the power of being in the divine union frequency is experiencing moments and determining how best to amplify the good and prevent the non-positive. This is almost what we see that the energy in the divine union frequency is working on maintaining, and it is requiring a lot of perfection, a lot of discernment, a lot of gentle care. And it's a moment that we're seeing, to a certain extent, there's almost points of allowing oneself levels and degrees of easement. Because again, the difference, I keep stressing this, the difference between energy right now that is just going through something versus the energy that is experiencing something that is triggering and then taking a point of discernment has to do with the intentionality of action. And that is why we see that for masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency right now, the ability to encounter something that feels like a trigger point and being able to put a pause point in it, being able to slow something down, if you will, being able to show that capacity or level of degree of control over the self is amplifying what feels like it is healing work, what feels like it is productive versus anything that may feel like it is too unhealed. Because the difference between something that feels like it is productive versus something that may feel like it is causing more of a trigger point has to do with how one can be intentional in relation to how one navigates it. So we see that for the energy in divine union right now, it's not the fact that there aren't some triggering moments that are occurring. One's own ability to navigate through it and how one chooses to do so is amplifying how far that healing is occurring. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency right now, this ability to do this is what you are discerning. And again, it is going to feel like a little bit of a slowdown right now. Again, for masculine, it's almost going to feel this feeling of not necessarily feeling like you need to go anywhere. Being able to feel that sense right now of masculine just enjoying being in the divine union frequency, because this is something that you're just creating with another energy. And this may even be masculine, like pulling out of obligations right now, pulling out of things early, because again, it's almost that moment that masculine is feeling the creation of something that wasn't there now becoming the priority, because the divine union is its own object. It is its own spiritual entity, as it were. That frequency, that point, is that moment of masculine not wanting to leave the frequency of divine union, almost wanting to just extend and stay in it, wanting it to last, wanting to be able to sustain it, is becoming the journey of the masculine coming into divine union right now. Because again, it's the amplification of masculine almost looking at the past self and being like, I don't know where I was trying to go back then. I don't know why I was moving in that way. Because this is masculine that almost feels to a certain degree that there's nothing else that's demanding their attention because they're exactly where they want to be. I told you, it's like that bus stop effect, that feeling of being like, where else would I want to be? That moment of something feeling like time is slowing down isn't a negative, it's a positive. Feminine seeing the same modality in masculine, a masculine that prioritizes the divine union, doesn't have anything else that they'd rather do than be in that divine union energy, is further amplifying to feminine that this is a masculine energy that is showing an ability to maintain consistency in that frequency. Because this isn't a masculine energy that feels that need to feel like they can dip in and out of it. It's realizing and recognizing that the more that you stay and maintain that frequency and create it for yourself, the more that it's something that it feels like that you're something that you're trying to expand here. Feminine seeing a masculine in this modality amplifies to a feminine that this is further moving into the divine union frequency, because you yourself are feeling that level or degree of contentment in seeing a masculine that is maintaining the same frequency. Feminine and masculine in separation, this is a bit more of a turning point, because what we're seeing here is a moment that requires a point of clarity. It's going to feel a little bit more uncomfortable, specifically because this is feminine energy that is potentially looking towards masculine right now and amplifying and saying to masculine, everything has to stop right now until you create clarity in terms of telling me what it is that you truly want. This is feminine energy, again, potentially feeling to a certain extent like an abandonment wound has already been effectively triggered to a certain degree, specifically due to the fact that we are identifying here for a lot of the feminine energy experiencing this right now. Masculine energy not being open and expressive about what they want is the trigger point. It is the abandonment wound. The abandonment wound is being navigated right now. But what we see right now for feminine is not necessarily trying to like have that be a point of reactivity, because this is feminine energy right now that again is utilizing their own healing journey. Instead, almost asking the masculine energy to be clear and honest in relation to what it is that they truly aspire and desire for right now, in order to make sure that old patterns are not repeating, almost amplifying to a masculine that the only thing that is almost stopping the progress forward right now is an inability to be open and honest in terms of, again, those 2 points I keep amplifying that is coming through: intentionality of purpose and clarity. This is almost a feminine energy saying, I can meet you where you're at. I can meet you no matter where you're at emotionally and tangibly right now, unless you don't tell me where that is. These are the coordinates. These are the coordinates through which I can find you. If you're not giving me these coordinates, you are intending me in some way, shape, or form that you would rather stay lost than experience these things with me. So this is why we see that this is feminine energy right now, saying that the only thing that is effectively blocking a partnership possibility with masculine doesn't matter where the masculine is. Feminine says, it doesn't matter where you are on that spectrum, you have to give me the coordinates. Masculine, you may be feeling to a certain extent that feminine is moving towards you in this way, almost trying to say, show me where you are, show me that vulnerability point, tell me what it is that you want, let me be able to find you there, give me the opportunity, give me the choice to try to find you there. But again, masculine energy, this is triggering. This may be triggering if you're in separation right now, because this may be feeling right now like you are encountering your internal self and almost seeing the internal hurdle that feels like it is blocking you from being able to be emotional and open in this way. But it may also be amplifying to you something that feels like internal path work, because it's that moment that almost amplifies what you may have been taught or what you may have been told by other masculine energy versus what the feminine is truly asking you for at this time. And we see that for a lot of the masculine energy right now, even moving through this modality, maybe reaching out to other masculine energy that is in divine union to try to get a better understanding on how you feel, because we almost see that for a lot of the masculine energy right now, if in divine union, that observation point that's effectively coming through is almost taking a lot of assessment towards other masculine energy. And again, this is the important thing that we're seeing for a lot of masculine energy and separation right now. It's not just that finite point of potentially turning to a masculine right now for advice. This is masculine energy and separation having a point of pause and looking at the circumstances around a masculine energy to ask oneself if that is the energy that one needs to come towards to get that point of insight, if that's the right place or space to go. So we see that, again, that moment right now of masculine almost taking this as an internal journey if in separation, and not only questioning oneself, but looking with a lot of care at who you may be asking for points of reference. Observing where they are in their own experience is helping masculine right now potentially overcome internal hurdles, but by a point and power of personal observation. Not even connected to the feminine, but connected to one's own self and one's own patterns, which is a positive. We like seeing that. Continuing to get clarification, fourth card in our 5-card spread for today, we have here Ace of Swords in its reversal, masculine energy. A lot of this energy we see here right now is almost realizing and coming into a space of deepening vulnerability, because it's that moment that you may be asking yourself, especially if you're feeling that sense right now of having that moment, experiencing, finding that internal emotional blockage within. Asking oneself, not just taking that defensive approach, but at least, and this is what we'd like to see right now, this is showing your own healing journey, masculine, if you're going through this, asking oneself, not the question about whether you feel like you are defensive right now, but asking oneself, does it make sense to be defensive on this? Does it make sense to put up this wall? Does it make sense? Is there a wall internally that you are experiencing? This is like masculine energy and separation, finding an internal wall within and almost saying to oneself, that's weird. Where did that come from? What is that doing there? Who put that there? Oh, I remember who put that there. I remember I saw someone I used to look up to who moved like this. I said to myself once when I was a kid, wow, I want to be like that person. I want to be strong like that person. And this is the masculine energy, if in separation right now, saying, wait a minute, that energy that I saw, that energy, that person, what was I seeing in them that I thought was so valuable? Because what we're seeing right now, and this is what's so important right now with masculine energy, that sense of self is almost coming into direct conflict with the energy of what you feel like you need to put up against the world versus the true self. And having this modality right now is so important for masculine in separation, because it is that moment that it's not just moving in the way that you may have moved in the past, but asking yourself intentionally, does it make sense? Does it make sense? Is it something that requires you to have those walls? Or if those walls, and again, I need to stress, this is what we do when we encounter an abandonment wound. It's not the fact that the abandonment wound isn't potentially there for a valuable reason. Giving yourself a pause point to assess and ask yourself if that is there because it is necessary, or if it's there because some experience or situation in the past created it there where it ought not be, is how we see masculine overcoming your own limitations, overcoming your own fears of vulnerability, because this is a moment that you're seeing the internal wall within the self and saying to yourself, does it make sense that it's there? Or is this something that I need to take down? Masculine, feminine energy right now, we almost see that feminine is almost in this moment right now where they themselves are almost trying to bring this forth in masculine by being open, by being their most authentic expression of self. We see here that this is a feminine energy that's almost moving to a certain extent and trying to amplify that anything that they're bringing to the masculine right now is not coming towards masculine from a point of conflict. It's almost coming from a point of a feminine that is ready to almost effectively surrender a connection point with the masculine for the sake of masculine coming into this point of healing. This is literally feminine energy right now in separation, potentially having difficult conversations with masculine and saying, I am not saying these things to you because I'm hoping to elicit a reaction. I am saying these things for you to be able to see this within the self. This is feminine trying to extend that emotional hand energetically, even in separation right now, almost allowing this to be a release to say, I am doing this as like a moment of saying, and some of it's going to feel almost like feminine coming from a place of like sadness, desperation, and saying, I am giving this to you as a gift. What you choose to do with it is yours. This is feminine almost releasing this and saying, I want you to recognize that I'm not doing this from a point of conflict. I'm doing this with a sense of surrender and the hope that something positive comes from it. So we see that a lot of this right now may be feeling like there are points that may be feeling like deep separations occurring. But I need to stress right now, masculine, if a feminine is approaching you in this modality right now, they're not doing it from a lack of care. It's coming from an abundance of care, but with a moment that it's amplifying, that feminine is seeing something that they recognize is outside of their own power to heal. They need to see an ability for you to recognize that that needs to be healed within to be able to proceed forward with you. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, that feeling of surrender is effectively, that is not necessarily a feeling of surrender so much as that deepening of vulnerability that we're seeing here. Masculine, one of the things that we identified that was happening over the last few days of energy coming into divine union was feminine almost opening up to you in a much deeper way. If you left yourself receptive, if you didn't allow that to be a moment of getting frustrated that you didn't hear or learn something about feminine prior to this point, but instead recognize that that ability of feminine to open up deeper to you is the gift of divine union. That's not a negative thing. That is a sign of the expansion of a development in a partnership or relationship, in a feminine opening up more and more. It's not a benchmark of someone not delivering something prior to this. It is literally the sign of productivity, that it is the sign of a deepening connection. The energy that allowed that to flow through is almost creating a space or state of feminine recognizing that they opened up in a certain capacity and they didn't see you come into a reaction point on something. Instead, it was you kind of continuing to show that ability to be emotionally balanced and to create a stability point, even as feminine was feeling something that was internally them opening up to you on something that they were feeling had an abandonment wound associated to it. So something that they may not necessarily have opened up to you prior to this because they were confronting their own abandonment wound about it. Masculine energy, you may be feeling right now that is almost that point that you are also opening up further to the feminine, because again, you're realizing that divine union is a constant expansion point. That ability to open up more and more to each other is the gift of divine union, because you're almost becoming deepening hallways to one another, that you're exploring and learning more about each other every step of the way. You don't hold that as a point of consternation when that occurs. You hold that as a joy. It's a joyful space. Energy in the divine union frequency, you recognize and realize this, that continual unfolding, that continual deepening of the vulnerability between you is the gift of the divine union. Masculine and feminine very much in alignment here as you proceed forward from this point. We're seeing more than anything, though, it is kind of triggering in that modality right now, even if you're in divine union, because it is creating a covetousness, a desire to protect what you're creating within the self, but also recognizing, and this is why we see that this is difficult pathwork here, the difference between wanting to maintain what you've created versus the desire to expand outwards. So we see that even for the energy right now in the divine union, that moment, that push-pull between feeling the stability and security of where you are right now, but also feeling that need or that call to want to continue forward on your own personal healing journey, it does feel like one of the things that's amplifying the difference between something that feels like it is an abandonment wound that is being triggered versus something that feels like it's productive is in the amplification in one's intentionality in terms of what you choose to move forward with versus what you feel like you can't control. That's why we see for a lot of energy right now, confronting the abandonment wound is valuable in terms of recognizing what feels like it is something that can be controlled versus something that needs to be avoided. Fifth card in our 5-card spread. This is a point of positivity. This is a point of celebration for energy in the divine union frequency, because again, the observation point, potentially being able to look at something right now, even again, pushing against one's own limitations, hitting these abandonment wounds, but again, not letting it be a point of reactivity. For masculine, feeling very stable, encountering that abandonment wound. Potentially, again, even experiencing a moment that something about the feminine in that same vibration isn't causing a reactivity point. It's something that you're allowing that point of stability on. This is amplifying how far and so how profound a lot of this healing work is feeling, because again, it isn't something that you are reacting to. What are the energies in divine union doing right now? Experiencing an abandonment wound. They're becoming even more vulnerable in the process. What's masculine doing right now, hitting an abandonment wound? Dropping even more armor. Being even more open. Being even more exposed. Masculine coming into emotional balance is the gift right now. Masculine feeling the safe space. That recognizing that finding a feminine that can equally do that is creating a space where the masculine can do it in kind is the amplification of, again, not feeling a need to want to push anything forward right now, because where are you going to go? You've got everything you need. That feeling of contentment is present. And now one of the observation points we see that's happening for a lot of the energy in divine union is almost this moment that feels a little bit like that sense of uncertainty as it relates to holding forth in terms of where you are right now versus where you want to go. And all of this is coming through as an act of discernment. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency right now, this point of observation. This point of observation is amplifying the fact that you've almost reached that benchmark. You've reached that point of success, because especially masculine energy, if there's a feminine right now that just opened up to you more, and you didn't let that create a moment of reactivity, but instead you realized and you recognized and you saw it for what it was, the gift of a feminine becoming even more vulnerable to you, showing even more sides of themselves, and masculine, you feeling that sense or that ability to do so in turn is what is effectively creating right now for both masculine and feminine this feeling that not only have you found something that's very special, you found that divine union frequency, but you're not inclined to leave it anytime soon. It's like the energy around you doesn't feel like it holds as much captivating point, because it's like, where else would you go? Everything you found is here. You're finding that journey within is almost becoming more, you're becoming more invested in it. You're falling deeper into that frequency. You're moving deeper into that frequency. Masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is feeling like a release process. One of the things I need to amplify right now, and this is why we see for a lot of feminine energy right now, if this is experienced, this is a moment that we see that feminine is almost, again, saying to masculine, this is feeling like a little bit of a last-ditch effort here for some of the feminine energy in separation. Because this is literally feminine energy, if in separation to a masculine, that they feel did something that the masculine may have been stating that they desired divine union, but something about their actions was not aligning with their words. This is feminine energy that's literally trying to say to masculine in separation, I want you to tell me what you want. And I don't want you to tell me what you think I want to hear. I want you to tell me what you think union is. What would be your aspiration of union in your own life? Because what we're seeing here is this is, again, a feminine energy that's almost saying to masculine, the only thing I'm not willing to accept from you right now, the only thing that would kind of create this impenetrable wall between where you are and where I am, is the inability to give me the coordinates. And the feminine coordinates right now to find masculine, if in separation, is an intentionality of purpose and clarity. This is why we see a lot of the feminine energy right now is almost expressed to masculine what they're seeing that they feel isn't in alignment with masculine, because this is feminine energy that's like trying to draw a map to masculine right now and feeling like the one that masculine's telling them does not match up to what they're seeing. So we see here that this is feminine literally trying to say to masculine, tell me where you are so that I can see if I can find you there. And we see that for a lot of the feminine energy, the only thing that's potentially going to create a surrender point in letting go of energy is if masculine is too much triggered to be emotionally open in this way. And this is feminine saying, if you stay there, if you stay stoic in this, if you insist or you refuse to acknowledge that something that I'm saying is true here, that something about the way that you're moving does not match what you're saying, then that is that moment that feminine is almost breaking away from masculine, because this is feminine energy that feels to a certain extent that masculine is almost intentionally hiding, either, again, subconsciously hiding from the feminine or intentionally hiding where they truly are. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our King of Cups, our King of Pentacles, and our Five of Pentacles. Huge energy right now. Huge path work for masculine. One card to clarify. King of Wands. This is really, 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 really interesting right now. Masculine energy in divine union. Look at this. This is masculine energy even in divine union right now. I have to stress, this could be a moment where masculine energy and divine union, this is a lot of that path work. A lot of this path work, a lot of this intentionality of path work. I will stress, some of this has been about masculine trying to heal outside connections with other masculine energy, wherein they feel masculine is now observing potentially that they fell out of connection with some energy of masculine due to someone having an abandonment wound triggered. This is masculine trying to extend the healing to other masculine right now. So again, here's where the circle is going to circle in a minute. This is masculine energy, either having a lot of masculine energy outside of divine union, coming to masculine right now, trying to get some points of insight, trying to get some deeper understanding on things. Again, because they see the fact that masculine energy is able to navigate some points right now where there isn't this ability to navigate through abandonment wounds right now. So we see that a lot of the masculine energy, and even in divine union right now, is almost attracting other masculine energy that is trying to heal towards it. We like this, especially because this is the validation point for a lot of the work that we saw masculine energy and divine union was trying to do prior to the Mercury retrograde starting. Remember when I said a lot of the masculine energy put a lot of path work out without that point of knowing if it was going to come back? Coming back. But this is the positive, though. It's coming back in a good way, because we see here that there's this moment that is now feeling like the amplification and looking towards things right now to get the observation about whether the energy is ready to facilitate that point of healing, or if it's not ready to right now. There's some kind of confirmation that is coming through right now for masculine. And that point of validation after, I will stress here, after masculine surrendered the outcome, gave it up, said, I'm okay with this. I am good. I did not do this for the sake, I'm not moving for the sake of reactivity. I'm doing it for the sake of my own heart. A little bit of an echo effect, right? We're coming out of the Mercury retrograde. Now it's coming back in. Now the response, now it's coming back in. So for masculine right now, this could amplify a lot of work that's happening right now, even for the energy of masculine and divine union, having to deal and address with a lot of masculine energy that is coming towards a divine union energy. Feminine, you're also going through this right now. It's going to feel a little bit different for feminine energy and divine union right now, because it's also the fact that there's a lot of masculine energy around the feminine and the masculine right now. But again, this is feminine potentially navigating some of those triggers from the past. Remember when I said that feminine's doing enough healing right now where they're able to address things from the past in a different way? This is feminine right now being able to address some of the energy around union right now, but also the energy around, the energy around the feminine right now in divine union, to ascertain what feels like it is productive, what feels like it is supportive, versus what feels like it is just creating problems where problems ought not exist. Feminine having that layer or degree of discernment right now as it relates to energy is helping to amplify feminine's own ability to navigate abandonment wounds, but not necessarily get triggered by them, but more just feel the amplification of what feels like it is supportive versus what just needs to effectively be left behind as they continue forward in divine union. Masculine and feminine almost matching each other right now in this vibration. Masculine and feminine in moving into the divine union frequency right now, this is that observation right now of masculine, again, having that point of observation. Masculine building a level or degree of discernment right now as it relates to feeling, coming into divine union right now. And this is just something that masculine is recognizing that they need to do as they move into divine union. Even feeling that there's something about them moving into divine union right now that is having a different impact, not only on their own self, but on the energy of their connection with other masculines right now. Some of the masculine energy being in alignment, finding the masculine coming into divine union and feeling like it is supportive as such, versus energy that feels to a certain degree like they are not necessarily understanding some of the changes that they see in the masculine energy. Because again, for the masculine energy that is moving into the vibration of divine union, it's almost that amplification of seeing that there's some energy that's meeting you there already, that's been there, that you haven't necessarily recognized, versus energy that you're now seeing isn't in that modality. So even for masculine energy right now, it's having some kind of impact moving into divine union that is amplifying how you're even navigating a lot of the energy around you at this time. Feminine, you may also be experiencing this right now if you're moving into divine union, and you're potentially seeing or even feeling right now masculine articulating some of the things as it relates to situations and circumstances, not only having to do with the masculines around them at this time as they move into divine union, but this is almost that amplification of feminine opening up more to masculine around circumstances and situations, because again, this is a feminine energy that potentially did not necessarily open up to certain degrees about situations and circumstances for fear of triggering an abandonment wound. But the more that the feminine energy sees that this is a masculine energy that is supportive of seeing feminine from all facets, this is more a feminine energy that is learning the ability of being able to open up, almost amplifying to masculine that the reason that they may have held back in this process is recognizing experiences from the past wherein them opening up in this degree led to masculine creating an abandonment wound in them. Masculine and feminine in separation. One of the things that we're effectively seeing right now for the energy in separation is this fact of feminine trying to say something to masculine right now for the sake of the benefit of the masculine energy. The feminine energy in separation right now is literally trying to say to masculine, look, you have to tell me where you are. This is the feminine saying, I can't tell where you are right now. This is feminine saying, in a way, again, tell me what modality I find you in. Do you want to move into divine union? Are you trying to maintain your autonomy? The only thing that the feminine is saying right now is unacceptable is a masculine that is not being honest or clear about what it is that they truly desire, because that's a feminine that feels that instead of wanting to work with feminine as a co-creator in creating something, that is a masculine energy that is allowing their own passion. And this is why we see that for the feminine energy, this isn't a modality wherein feminine's trying to get clarification as to why. This is either a feminine energy, if they're not seeing this right now, that either feels that this is a masculine energy that is either intentionally trying to misdirect the feminine for the sake of their own desires, or that just doesn't know what they want. And this is why the feminine's trying to say to masculine right now, I can find you in any place you tell me you are, except if you try to tell me that you don't know. Masculine, you may be feeling this from a certain extent with a lot of the feminine energy around you right now. We even see that a lot of the masculine energy in separation is potentially moving towards masculine energy to try to get some insight and clarity in terms of how to proceed forward, because there's something here where the masculine energy is experiencing an eternal abandonment wound. But again, that observation right now almost is requiring masculine to go to other masculine energy with it, because this is feeling like something that is so challenging for a lot of the masculine energy in separation right now, that getting some other masculine insight feels like it is important. More than anything, though, what do we see that the masculine energy is doing right now? If in separation, that is showing that even having that modality is a positive, though. Masculine, you are potentially looking with a lot of discernment as to who you are moving towards for that point of advice. Are you moving towards energy that feels like they've mastered something here that the feminine is asking you for? Or are you going towards the point of advice in the past that may have caused the abandonment wound in the first place? That's almost what we see here. Masculine putting a lot of care and intentionality right now, if you're going towards other masculine in separation, in saying to oneself, wait, if you're going to, I'll put it this way, if you're going to, making sure that you feel like the energy is in a place or space where they are validated or vindicated to give the advice, because you see them in a place or space that you would aspire to be. A lot of masculine energy in separation, you may be discerning this right now and trying to get that point of insight. Feminine, this is that moment that, again, needing and requiring this, almost saying to masculine, the only thing I cannot accept is if you're not telling me what you want. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Five of Pentacles, our King of Pentacles, and our Wheel of Fortune in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our our Seven of Wands. Now, one of the things that we're seeing here, and this is why for the masculine energy in separation right now, this may be feeling like something of a problem state, because again, there's a lot of internal conflict that is potentially occurring here right now in relation to masculine, feeling this ability to open up in this capacity to feminine, and feeling that internal conflict point. But this is why we appreciate right now that this is almost becoming something that is outside the borders of whether or not you're coming into union right now, masculine, and more about a personal sense of internal journey. Because masculine, you are potentially feeling right now that you're encountering an internal boundary. You're encountering a wall within the self right now. But the important thing about encountering a wall within the self is not the question about whether you encounter the wall within the self. It is asking oneself if that wall is there for a good reason, or if you are encountering a wall within the self where a wall ought not be. Whether that is an intentional wall, one that you set within yourself that has a clear reason or clear parameters, or if it is one that you potentially put up in the past in a way that felt like it wasn't, that was more a way to address an abandonment wound. And for a lot of the masculine energy right now, this is why, if in separation, this is feeling like an internal journey, because this is finding a limitation within the self. It is seeing something from a perspective that you may not have seen it before, and potentially being facilitated and helped right now by a feminine energy, regardless, again, whether you're taking it as a trigger point or whether you feel like they're trying to do it from a place of care and empathy, that the feminine showed something to you in a way that is hard to mistake or avoid. Having it presented to you in a way that you're able to assess this within the self is almost the clarity that you're seeing that some of the feminine energy around you right now is potentially trying to provide you. Because again, this is a feminine energy that's almost potentially doing this not from a state or place of hoping to come into union with you again, but almost trying to ascertain, almost stating to you, the desire for union isn't the point. It's just an understanding in seeing if you understand what you want, because the lack of clarity is almost creating a boundary for them feeling safe to move closer to you. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this modality, this ability right now, this being able to confront one's own barriers, one's own internal boundaries, one's own internal abandonment wounds, is one that, again, it's not the fact that one is encountering them. It is the fact that one can observe and make the choice whether to move towards something or whether to stop something. This is where the ability of the work is coming in, because now it is an observation point to a certain extent for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency. This ability to look at something that feels like it's triggering and not effectively allow oneself to move in the way that one would typically move during a trigger, but instead to move with a state of pause, of intentionality, is amplifying what feels like it is productive versus what needs to be avoided. So we see that for a lot of energy right now, both coming into divine union and in the heart of the divine union frequency right now, addressing these situations and circumstances. For the energy coming into divine union, this is identifying whether you're going to continue forward into the divine union. Because masculine, it's not the fact that feminine didn't present something to you that's triggering. Your own ability to fight through that trigger is amplifying your own growth in terms of coming deeper into the heart of the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine that are in the union frequency, you've already been able to do this. You've shown each other countless times an ability to show up for each other at a moment that you're feeling the anxiety of being abandoned. That ability to show up for each other is the gift of the divine union frequency. And the ability, again, right now for masculine and feminine in the heart of the divine union frequency is allowing, and this is going to be a deep journey for the masculine right now, an observation point between what feels like it is not moving in the direction that you would aspire to versus what feels like it is counter. And again, for a lot of the masculine energy, this is the result of some of the energy that you put forth prior to the Mercury retrograde starting. This is that clarity coming back to you right now. And we see that even now there may be a moment that may be feeling triggering for the masculine. But again, the value of being in the divine union frequency is helping you navigate some of that triggering energy. Feminine, seeing a masculine with this ability, seeing a masculine that's able to navigate through these triggers so effectively, is further amplifying your own journey because it's giving you validation of a masculine that has that ability to do so. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Wheel of Fortune in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Chariot in its reversal. Again, the power and the ability right now of the energy in the divine union frequency doesn't necessarily necessitate a movement forward at all times. In fact, we see here that the ability to recognize what and when to move forward on something versus when not to is the power of the energy in the divine union right now. It is that moment that is allowing for pause points to feel like they're moments of rest. It's not that something is getting you off course. It's being able to take those points with intentionality to see how to best navigate through them is being amplified right now. And one of the things that we appreciate is for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency right now, this is almost feeling like a lot of discernment, a lot of careful path work, because this is helping to recognize what is standing in the way of being able to move in the direction that you aspire to right now. So we see right now that there's a moment that feels like a lot of prioritization for the energy in the divine union to assess what needs to be moved forward on right now versus what needs to be potentially paused. Energy in the coming into the divine union frequency, your ability to do this is exactly why you're continuing forward in this frequency, potentially because, again, what did we see that has been resulting in energy moving into the divine union frequency right now? The ability to effectively look at situations outside of the divine union right now and say, it's not the idea or aspiration of not wanting to come into healing with someone right now. It's the fact that one needs to prioritize the need of the divine union over outside forces is amplifying right now for the energy coming into divine union. What effectively has the ability to stay and be patient and move on the timeline of the divine union versus what needs to be released. It is feeling like a new way of moving. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is feminine energy coming into a point that we see that feminine is being very vulnerable to masculine in separation, being very articulate, being very open as to why they don't think something can work. But if a feminine energy is articulating on this, this is because the feminine energy is articulating on it because there's the aspiration that there's still some hope here that something can be fixed. The important thing right now is for masculine, if there's a feminine right now that's articulating to you why something's not working, not seeing that as a feminine that's giving up, so much as a feminine that's trying to draw you a map as to what needs to be fixed in order for something to become functional again. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Swords in combination with our Four of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Swords in its reversal. Now, again, I need to stress for the energy in the divine union, this is expected. This is anticipated. This is what we were expecting. This is masculine feeling like, again, we're coming out of the Mercury retrograde. Masculine, you set yourself on the path of healing something right before Mercury retrograde started, which is why this has been like a lesson in patience for a lot of energy in this modality, because any of that pause that you felt had a lot to do with the timing around something. But you're also recognizing that you were utilizing that timing to your benefit to a certain extent, because what we're really seeing right now is the fact that there's something about this coming back, coming back up right now that is amplifying to a certain degree what feels like it is productive. You're getting some of that response now. You're seeing whether something feels like it's going to be able to move into a way that feels positive versus something that you have to kind of accept that it is in the space or place that it is right now. For all of the energy at play, masculine and feminine, this is, again, seeing a lot of the path work that started prior to the Mercury retrograde, now kind of showing its results, showing what comes from it to a certain extent. And we're identifying that for a lot of this energy right now, it's not for the energy of the divine union. It's not from situations and circumstances from the past rising up. It's not problematic. It feels like it's productive because it's providing clarity that's allowing for a clearer path forward. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this ability of the past to accommodate and adjust and accept the fact that the divine union is here is amplifying right now what feels like it's going to continue forward with you as you continue forward into this frequency versus something energetically that you may just feel like you need to let go of as you continue forward in this. Because again, it's that observation point, relinquishing the outcome around circumstances or situations, identifying that when you move into the divine union frequency, it is going to have an impact on some of the situations around you. That's just kind of a state of being that you're willing and ready to accept, but it doesn't feel so much like it's problematic because, again, being in this frequency is coming into a place where you're accepting that that is the aspiration, that is the goal that you're trying to achieve. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see that a lot of this is amplifying whether there's something here that can be salvaged or not. Because this is feminine that's literally saying to masculine right now, I am giving you the opportunity. I'm not asking you to meet me where I am. I'm asking you just to be clear on where you are to see if I can meet you there. And that's why we see that for a lot of the energy right now, that opportunity, that possibility is one that is allowing for new productive pathways going forward as it relates to a realignment. Even for a lot of energy and separation, having that point of mutual understanding on where you are is allowing you to determine where you want to go together, versus something that needs to be surrendered. And it is requiring for a lot of energy right now that point of clarity in terms of seeing if something can get repaired or if something needs to be released. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Wands in combination with our Seven of Wands in its upright, King of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Seven of Wands in its upright, Seven of Cups in its reversal. So even for the energy right now in divine union, this is a little challenging for some of the masculine energy, because there is a feeling right now for masculine that's amplifying a feeling of choice, a feeling of making choices, having that point of prioritization. And this moment for masculine, seeing the results of one's efforts, almost again relinquishing the outcome. Having this moment of masculine recognizing that having that point of observation that you are moving in a certain capacity, not to elicit or not to be able to ascertain a definite reactivity from energy around you, but more from a state of relinquishing and realizing that whether something is ability to meet you where you are is entirely up to the energy around something right now, is amplifying to masculine right now, whether there's going to be something that feels like a deeper point of healing, seeing whether some of the masculine energy around the divine union is in a point of being able to move with the divine union versus something that still feels like it is oppositional around the divine union. And we see there for both masculine and feminine this observation point of unhealed karmic energy, looking at things right now, trying to determine and ascertain if something can be moved into a point of productivity, is almost amplifying the fact that you're moving in such a way that you're not necessarily moving for the benefit of another energy. This is why we see this is about a ratio, because this is that moment that we see that there's a bit of energy being put towards something, but not so much that one is changing one's own course of action for the benefit of another. This is that moment, that point of recognizing the difference between moving for one's own self with the aspiration of someone being able to find you there versus feeling like you're adjusting or trying to accommodate for something outside of the partnership. We see that the energy coming into divine union right now is doing the same. And even now, right now, for masculine, something that you may be experiencing coming into divine union, this ability that is almost experiencing and encountering something that's hard to communicate on, is almost amplifying your own ability to grow and your own choice right now. Because again, it's not the fact that something is difficult. It's the fact that you still are choosing it even though it's becoming difficult. That is the amplification of love. We don't move in a love frequency because it's always easy at every moment. It's that moment of amplifying that the things that we truly care about are the things that we're able and willing to put that effort and energy and struggle into right now. Masculine and feminine in separation. This is what feminine is almost saying to masculine in separation right now. This is why we see that a feminine energy is trying to get masculine to articulate on what it is that they truly desire. Because this is a feminine energy that says, I am trying to show you, even through this moment that I'm having a hard conversation with you, that I'm willing to struggle. I'm willing to do the hard part. Feminine's almost saying, I'm just not willing to do it for no apparent reason. This is feminine saying, make sure that we're aligned as to why I'm willing to do the hard part, because this is feminine saying, me doing the hard part is me saying to you, tell me where you are so I can see if I can meet you. Masculine, you may be seeing this on a part of a feminine that's literally trying to ask you and saying, just tell me what you want, even if it's not me, even if it's not divine union. Tell me what your aspiration is so I can see where I fit in that. But we see for a lot of the masculine energy right now, being able to articulate on that may either feel difficult because this is almost articulating and uncertainty in terms, it's almost forcing you to come into terms within the self. And this is either for masculine energy, that moment that is requiring a pause to ask yourself what it is that you truly aspire for, or if this is that moment that your ability to be truly honest to the feminine about what it is that you truly seek feels like it's making you experience and encounter an internal wall within the self. Because it's that feeling of hitting an abandonment wound and feeling the sense or anxiety about expressing your true heart's desire and feeling like it may create a conflict point instead of an energy being able to meet and find you there. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between the Seven of Wands in combination with our Chariot in its reversal. Star energy in its reversal. This is why we see right now so much of the masculine energy feeling this point of uncertainty as it relates to what a feminine is asking for. Because masculine energy, you're seeing that there's something about this where you're feeling a point that you don't think that the feminine energy is going to be true or honest and vulnerable in this way. There's almost a masculine energy right now within separation. If a feminine's asking this masculine, it's almost articulating to you a fear that the feminine energy isn't going to want to meet you if you're truly articulate and open about what that desire is. But again, recognizing this right now is potentially where we're seeing, to a certain extent, masculine, you may be facing your own internal hurdle, specifically due to that point of realizing and recognizing that, again, you don't necessarily know this is a case unless you give the feminine energy the possibility to show you that that is the case. For a lot of the masculine energy right now, it's almost this moment that feels counter oppositional because it's a difference between what you've been told feminine energy wants versus what the feminine energy is actually telling you that they want. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. It is a difference for a lot of the masculine energy right now between what you've been told women want or feminine energy wants versus what the feminine energy is actually telling you that they want. That is amplifying. And that's why we see masculines putting a lot of discernment right now as it relates to other masculine energy in terms of where the source of information is coming from, because this is that moment, and this is what we appreciate right now, masculine, that's in separation. This optics is potentially a moment that you're starting to question whether you understand this, because there's something right now, even at the feminine energy approaching you in this way, opening up to you in this degree, that's creating that feeling of trepidation. Because again, it's almost like you're not taking the feminine energy's vulnerability point as a vulnerability point. You're almost looking at it from a point of distrust. So we see that for a lot of the masculine energy, overcoming this hurdle, that's why this is becoming an internal hurdle for a lot of the masculine energy right now. Because you're almost realizing that, like, your lack of trust in trusting that the feminine energy is telling you what they want is almost creating an impossibility point, because that's the lack of trust that you have in a feminine energy trying to be vulnerable and open to you, and you being resistant to seeing them in that vulnerable modality. And it may be because there may have been some experiences in the past that built this for you. But the deeper question for a lot of masculine energy right now is this something that you've seen an expression of in this feminine energy? Or are you putting this on a feminine energy based on what you've been told in the past or based on your experiences in the past? Because this is a moment that we want to make sure that your frame of reference from the past isn't creating a blockage so much as it is creating an opportunity to heal. Feminine, you may be feeling this right now in the part of a masculine energy, but this is why we see that the feminine energy is trying to amplify to masculine that they need the masculine energy to be open and vulnerable in this way, because this is feminine almost saying to masculine, I am not going to be vulnerable and open to you. I cannot be vulnerable and open to you unless you are doing so for me. That's feminine almost saying to masculine, you don't seem to understand. When you are not vulnerable and open to a feminine, this isn't a feminine that makes the intentional choice not to be open to you, masculine. This is a feminine energy that literally cannot control. They cannot stop their own ability to grow closed off, because this is feminine energy that, like, beyond their own desire to be vulnerable. The feminine wants to be vulnerable to you. masculine. If the feminine's moving in this way, it's because the feminine energy is losing trust. They're losing faith. This is why the feminine is almost asking the masculine and saying, show me that you can match this level or degree of vulnerability. Show me that you can embody the trust that you're asking me to give you. Because this is feminine energy that says, without that, there's no path forward. Because this is feminine saying, I cannot fake trust. This is feminine almost saying to masculine, I cannot pretend trust. I cannot fake trust. I cannot fake vulnerability. I need you to create an environment wherein I feel safe. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. Masculine, you may be realizing this is why you're overcoming your own abandonment wound. You're overcoming your own trigger. Because masculine, you may be recognizing that when you come into a place of getting reactive, when feminine opens to you and you respond with reactivity, it immediately arrests any progress to be able to move into divine union. Because that moment that feminine opens to you, shares something that is a vulnerability, and the moment that instead of welcoming it with that same level of vulnerability, the minute that you lock up or get reactive, is the minute you've almost said to feminine unconsciously, don't do that. You can't be vulnerable here. You can't be open here. So masculine, if you're coming into divine union right now, your ability to ascertain this may feel in a way like you're having a lot of healing from the past coming through as well, because you may be recognizing that you are adjusting your behavior, having realized that this may have prevented and blocked you from being able to come into divine union in the past. And that's why this healing journey of being able to find the feminine where they are and accept them and let them know that it is safe to be vulnerable feels like it is a place that you are cultivating, because you're recognizing how much you lose when you're not able to do that. Masculine and feminine in the divine union, you already do this work for each other. One of the challenges that we're seeing right now for a lot of the feminine energy right now in the modality of the divine union is almost this moment that is amplifying, again, the difference between the masculine and the feminine journey right now. Because what we are ascertaining right now for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, there is a lot of productivity that is happening. There's a lot of this amplification of response that's coming through right now as it relates to masculine's energy to put forth and get back in kind. A lot of the feminine energy right now, if in divine union, is potentially feeling more like there's a lot more hurdles that you're currently experiencing right now, which again, why we see this energy in different modalities, why we almost see that there's an expression that's occurring right now between masculine and feminine that's almost amplifying the differences right now in the journey, because feminine is feeling more of those frustrations coming up that feel more like that point of personal effort. This is feminine almost pushing back right now, potentially around situations and circumstances, even related to their own past experience. Having that sense or level or degree of faith in oneself, in trust in one's ability, in coming into feeling like they can be vulnerable right now. For feminine, it's feeling more difficult because feminine is almost feeling the amplification of when they feel those setbacks or hurdles. It creates a frustrating energy that feels like feminine has to become more combative. And that in itself almost feels like it is against or oppositional to feminine being able to be their most authentic expression of self. So a lot of the work that we're seeing right now for feminine, even in divine union right now, is almost feeling to a certain extent that one has to curtail one's own ability to be vulnerable, specifically because, and this is why we saw this, feminine is trying to solve problems right now. Feminine is moving in a place right now of really trying to tackle things, really trying to get things done that are preventing the feminine from feeling like they can be their most authentic expression of self. But even doing so right now for feminine is something that they feel that the masculine energy is creating a supportive system around. Even now, this is a feminine that to a certain degree is tackling these things because the feminine's aspiration is to be their most authentic expression of self, and they're feeling that level or degree of encouragement on the part of masculine to do so that is amplifying feminine also taking a lot of assertive action right now to overcome anything that feels like it is preventing them on that progressive journey. Continuing on these cards right now, between our Chariot in its reversal and our Three of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our King of Swords in its upright. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This is what we see. The power and the strength of coming into divine union is building a new opportunity to address circumstances and situations from the past. Because again, it is all about the perspective that one has as it relates to what feels like it can be healed, what feels like it can be addressed, versus anything here that feels like it's just a hurdle to be overcome. Masculine and feminine energy right now. Feminine energy moving in this modality right now, feeling the support of the masculine to be able to tackle and address anything that feels has been creating any kind of hurdles or roadblocks with them. Because this is feminine energy right now in the modality of the divine union, feeling they've got this strength and support of masculine towards them right now that's helping to amplify their own ability to address anything that they feel like they've left open-ended in the past that is now creating that hurdle. Masculine, you may be seeing this again in terms of your own path work right now, because masculine, what you've been doing right now is you are intentionally putting a lot of care and effort and energy in these spaces and places, specifically for a desire for you to heal them as well. So masculine and feminine energy right now in this modality, we see that you're almost matching each other if in divine union. It's not the fact that there aren't some situations from the past that are coming up. It's your ability to tackle them right now that is being modified and adjusted because of the strength of having that point of integrity that you're moving towards. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This ability and perception of addressing situations from the past that are potentially coming towards the divine union right now. But again, ascertaining not necessarily energy that's feeling that they need to move towards things right now. This ability right now of masculine being able to prioritize the divine union is amplifying whether those things are coming forward in a new way, allowing for an opportunity to heal that allows for the divine union to stay in integrity as they do so, versus anything that feels like it's falling away, specifically because it may have moved towards the energy of masculine, seeing and recognizing or feeling in some energetic way that they were coming into healing. And this is what we see that is almost amplifying right now for masculine, what feels at this time like it is creating a productive space versus what you just kind of need to leave behind as you continue forward into this modality. Feminine, seeing a masculine right now that has that ability of discernment, almost is also allowing you to unpack a lot of things from the past as well with masculine, because again, it's not the fact that you're doing this in a vacuum. You are doing it together. You are ascertaining together. That ability to observe and to move together is what is amplifying an ability to address the past, but from a different direction. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see feminine is almost leaving themselves open and available to past expressions of masculine coming towards them at this time. Feminine is not necessarily leaving themselves unavailable to conversations. It is more the amplification as to whether it feels like it is productive or whether it is a repetition of cycle that is effectively feminine putting into practice right now to almost say to masculine, as long as you stand in integrity, as long as you are clear about what you want, I will match you in kind. But if you're coming from a place or space that your integrity isn't present, if it doesn't feel like you're being honest, if something here doesn't feel like it is clear, this is feminine that's almost utilizing this right now as a point of just letting something go. Because feminine, more than anything, is looking for masculine energy that is standing in their integrity. Masculine, you may be feeling right now that, again, it's not the fact that there aren't some situations from the past that you yourself are trying to move back towards right now, but it is that moment of potentially seeing and experiencing something that is almost calling upon you at this moment to articulate what it is that you want, to articulate what it is that is occurring around you, to amplify what it is that you're truly seeking from a point of, again, clarity and intentionality of purpose that demarcates the difference between moving towards feminine and kind of just trying to see where they're at versus almost feeling like this is a feminine energy that doesn't want you to kind of see where they're at. They want you to tell them where you're at and why you're coming back towards them. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Seven of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Star in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Swords. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency right now. One of the things that we're seeing is just this moment where both energies, you guys are matching each other right now. The most important thing, and this is what we appreciate so much for the energy in the divine union frequency, is this point of observation that the reason that you choose one another in the divine union frequency is not because you're constantly required to be at your absolute best. It is that moment and that point that the reason that you're choosing one another in this modality is that you feel like you can show sides to each other that others do not see. For masculine, this is masculine being able to put their guard down. This is masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, that feels like the reason they choose the divine union over and over again is because it is the place, it is the sole place that they feel like they don't need to have that armor up. They don't need to put up that front. They can be their most emotional, authentic sense of self and know that the feminine will be there to receive them. This is not a feminine that requires them to be strong, and that's why the masculine wants to be strong for this feminine, because this is a feminine that they realize it is not a requirement to be in divine union. Feminine, this is a modality that, again, and this is what's so important, this is a feminine that even when they're not feeling their best, even when feminine is having that moment that they doubt themselves, they doubt their path, they doubt their abilities, they start to go into that modality where those vulnerable thoughts, that closing down starts to happen. This is a feminine and masculine energy that is able to, again, receive all sides of the feminine. This is a feminine energy that, again, doesn't feel like they need to move from a place of artifice, but almost even in their ability to amplify their fears, their anxieties to this masculine energy. We see here that this isn't a masculine energy that comes through and is combative or argumentative in seeing a feminine in this modality. This is a masculine that amplifies. That this is not a masculine that is only in connection with feminine because of their ability to be in that modality, that this is a masculine that is willing to hold feminine even at that moment when they're feeling like that vulnerability is the side that others do not want to see, the side that is hard for them to express. Those doubts and those fears have a home in the other, and it's not a moment of them being amplified. It's almost a moment of masculine saying to feminine, you don't have to pretend everything's okay with me. You don't have to pretend everything's perfect. You can be in whatever modality that you are. And that ability to find each other even when you're not at your best. But also being caring and kind when you find each other in that space is amplifying the energy in the divine union. Energy coming into the divine union right now, this is why we see that this is the deepening of the connection. Because this isn't feminine energy. This is feminine energy opening up to masculine in ways that feel even like they're challenging the feminine energy's own vulnerability at this time, because this is feminine that's almost amplifying to masculine their own fears and opening up in this way for fear of how masculine would react. And the more that masculine is able to open, accommodate, welcome what the feminine brings forth to the masculine in this modality, almost amplifies to the feminine an ability to become more their vulnerable, authentic self, move deeper into divine union frequency, because again, this is masculine and feminine in the same modality as the energy that's already in the heart of the divine union, which says, I don't choose you because you're perfect. I choose you even when those imperfections come forward. This is not a place that you have to put up that false sense of self. This is a place that you can be your most authentic self in whatever modality that is. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see that this is a moment that feminine is almost relinquishing the outcome to masculine. This is feminine literally saying to masculine, I'm not saying these things for the sake of you choosing me. Because this is feminine that already feels like they've seen something on the part of a masculine in separation that makes them feel like they are not being chosen as the priority from masculine. This is feminine saying, I'm not asking you if you're choosing me. I'm asking you what you are seeking. I'm asking you what it looks like. I'm asking if you know what that is. And this is why we see this as a feminine that's almost saying, whatever that is, feminine's like, I can accept it, but I need you to tell it to me. And we see that ability, that inability of masculine to articulate this, that's really the only thing that feminine may effectively close the door on a masculine on right now. Because again, that is either a feminine, if a masculine is not answering that question, feminine either feels that masculine is intentionally withholding that from the feminine, or this is a masculine that doesn't know. Intentionality of purpose and clarity. Masculine, you may be feeling this on the part of some of the feminine energy around you right now, and this modality is almost requiring you, and I think that you're potentially recognizing this. This isn't feminine energy that is asking this from you because they're demanding you to choose them. They're asking this of you because they genuinely need to know. They genuinely want to know where you are, because this is a moment of feminine feeling like their self. That when masculine isn't open in this way, it feels like the connection that they have with masculine isn't genuine. And it creates a space where feminine almost has to intentionally hide from masculine, because masculine is not expressing the vulnerability that would allow the feminine to also be open and vulnerable. This is feminine almost feeling like that closed door in masculine almost creates a space that feminine can't open up to the masculine, because there's that sense of feeling like once the feminine feels like the masculine is being false, it's almost out of the feminine's hands as it relates to their own ability to be vulnerable, because this is a feminine that they can't fake that. They can't fake vulnerability. They just need to feel safe enough to become vulnerable. You can't force a flower. You can't make something grow where something can't grow. You have to create the environment through which you want what you grow to create. And so we see here that masculine being able to embody that same desire of what you expect in the feminine is requiring you, and this is why we see that this is becoming a lot of that internal journey for the masculine right now, to recognize that your own ability to be vulnerable in this way, even if it requires you taking a risk, doing something in a way you haven't before, is almost the necessary point that's allowing for some ability of feminine to show up for you in the same way. Continuing to get clarity on the Star card in its reversal in combination with our King of Swords. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Nine of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This is why we see that this is a bit of, again, one energy coming into the sword of the other. What was feminine doing over the last few days that was allowing the masculine to have that emotional bandwidth? Feminine was coming more into their strength point. And we see that what's happening now is almost an overabundance of that strength point, an overabundance of the feminine coming into that point of feeling like they need to push and work hard and push forward on something, because it's now creating a place of feminine feeling like they're losing connection to their vulnerable sense of self. This is feminine almost putting up that wall right now to be able to protect masculine, but now almost coming in too much to the point that the feminine's starting to lose that ability within the self to feel vulnerable. So what's masculine doing in kind? Is masculine getting reactive in the divine union? No. What's masculine? Masculine seeing a need in the feminine. What does feminine need right now if the feminine feels like they can't be vulnerable? Feminine needs to feel protected. So masculine is now moving forward again from, a feminine energy that isn't requiring the masculine to be protective of them, but the feminine, masculine, almost intuiting that this is what the feminine needs right now. This is masculine coming in to show the feminine that they're there, that they're by their side, even if they're not feeling their greatest right now. The masculine is always there as that point of support. And in that way, that's that point of, noticing Masculine's building that energetic connection with the feminine and almost anticipating what the feminine needs before the feminine even articulates on that need. See what's happening here? Feminine seeing a masculine energy in divine union that can anticipate a need before you're even able to articulate upon that need. Again, a masculine energy that is in enough of emotional connection with themselves that they can almost intuit and amplify what you need before you're even able to articulate it. They know you so much. They know you so well that they can almost see what the problem is before you can even see it. That anticipation quality is further building that sense of, again, strength in the divine union frequency, because it's requiring you to feel like, again, you don't need to be, you're not in a place where you have to have everything that's perfect. It's not all on you to make everything perfect for this masculine. This is a masculine that is able to see what requires tending and takes care of it. Not just like tangibly, but the prioritization of you and your needs is one that is articulated in their ability to do so. Masculine, your ability to see this is, again, almost, again, divine union frequency. A lot of the masculine energy, divine union is like, yeah, you're probably like shaking your head. You're going, yeah, I know what they need before they know. I know what they need before, I can already see it before they know, because, again, that is something that is cultivated. And in a way, masculine feeling they have that ability is that triumph point for a lot of masculine energy, because, again, it feels like a sense of masculine having that ability of being in such harmony with their feminine. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. Masculine, this is a moment or modality where feminine may have revealed something to you that was very difficult for the feminine to reveal. Your ability to be unflappable in that moment, to say to the feminine in that modality, there's nothing that you can bring to me that would cause me harm. There's nothing that you can say to me that would move me away from you, because that's a masculine saying the only thing that I desire is you, and it doesn't require you to follow what I prescribe or desire you to be. I desire all of you, and the ability to know you deeper is the gift. So we see here that that's a masculine becoming and moving in that modality of, again, starting to see that this is a masculine whose prioritization is the comfort of the feminine, moving into divine union. Feminine seeing a masculine in this modality is immediately, again, deepening your own ability to come into divine union with them, because this is, again, feminine energy that feels that this isn't a masculine that is saying, right? This is not a masculine energy that's kind of like, I like women who don't, like, I like someone who doesn't wear makeup, and then sees someone without makeup and goes, oh, this is a masculine that actually is saying, like, I want to see who you are. No, really. No, really. I know that you've heard things about that before. I want to see who you truly are. And this is a masculine standing in this ability right now, is, again, amplifying that movement deeper into the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is feminine energy. If this has fallen into separation for this reason, this is the conversation that feminine is having with masculine, which is why feminine is trying to say to masculine, I want you to be honest. And this is why feminine is now saying to masculine, I can't tell if you're not being honest with me or you're not being honest with yourself. Because this is feminine energy that's saying to masculine, if in separation, I can't be my vulnerable sense of self with you. There's something here that I feel that you're not going to prioritize me. You're not going to prioritize what we're creating together. And this is almost feminine saying, I'm not asking you to, but I am asking you to be honest. If you're saying to me that what you want is to move into deeper vulnerability with me, this is feminine saying to masculine, what you tell me will have an impact on how far I'm able to be vulnerable with you. This is feminine, again, looking to masculine right now, not saying, I need you to commit to me. This is feminine saying, tell me what ratio you truly want. If you're saying to me that I'm only going to have 25% of your bandwidth, then you will only have 25% of me. If you're saying to me that you will only have 50% of your bandwidth, this is feminine saying, then I will only give you 50% of mine. This is feminine saying to masculine literally right now, tell me what that is. Because this is feminine saying the only thing that we cannot have here is a moment where you are telling me that I need to give you 100%, and you are showing me in your actions that you're only giving me a portion. So we see here that this is a moment of feminine opening up to masculine in this degree, not due to the fact that they want to sever or remove something, but to try to clarify what exists between them and the masculine energy. Masculine, you may be feeling right now that a feminine is pushing you towards this. The problem, and this is why we see that for the energy of masculine experiencing this, this is a healing journey. You may be recognizing that what you say will have an impact on how open to you the energy is. But again, if you're on your healing journey, you recognize that that is valid too, because that would be a moment of a feminine being honest and open and making sure that what exists between you is coming from a state of balance. The anxiety of masculine here is a moment that we see that the fear or anxiety of being honest with feminine, you are fearing that that might require or resolve in the feminine not being open to you at all. And that may be the case. There may be a modality here that we're seeing that for some of the masculine, if you are not in the moment that you are desiring divine union with the feminine, and you are saying that or articulating that limitation point, there is that modality where feminine may determine that they don't want to move forward with you. But recognizing that that is a choice that the feminine deserves to have, much like you deserve the choice in your own determination path, is also how you are healing. Final card for today's spread between our Page of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Pentacles in its reversal. This is how we heal karmic connections. This is how we heal karmic connections. Because again, masculine and feminine energy, this is that modality. And it does feel like for a lot of the energy right now in separation, there's almost a point right now that this is becoming heavy path work, because it's not just the fact we're seeing here. This is no longer even in the modality right now of looking at something in separation and coming into a place of, again, amplifying whether there's going to be union here or not. This is amplifying whether you're going to be on good karmic terms with energy or not. Because what we are seeing here is that moment of clarity. If you're not coming forward in a way that feels like, if someone is asking you to stand in your integrity right now, and you are not standing in your integrity, what stands to be fractured is a karmic connection. It's a connection that, again, even if it was a separate, you can separate, I have to stress this, you can create a separation point between an energy and have it be a positive karmic connection. That modality, that sense of recognizing that you and another energy are in a different place, being able to recognize that in a positive way and leave it at that is something that you can do that establishes a healed karmic connection, even if you aren't necessarily in the same space. Versus something that is amplifying here about, again, a possibility of, again, feminine is almost offering this to masculine energy right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This is that moment of looking right now. And this is why we see that feminine energy at this moment is being so articulate and open with masculine, because this is feminine that is literally coming from a place and space of just caring about the masculine energy enough to show this as pathwork to healing. Masculine, you may be feeling this right now. The problem or the hurdle right now, masculine, is this modality of recognizing that something about what the feminine is calling forth from you right now is showing you that there is something here that needs to help you focus on what that path work looks like going forward. But we see that for a lot of the masculine energy and separation right now, these hard conversations may lead to a lot of productive breakthroughs as it relates to healed connections with some energy. The opportunity to heal is here. What one does with it right now is really the major question. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This modality is, again, the amplification as it relates to what needs to be put off, what needs to be, again, readjusted. There's a point right now we're seeing that even the divine union is requiring some adjustment with the energy around it. the amplification of what feels like it is supportive to making those modifications and adjustments versus what is not is amplifying what feels like it is going to continue forward in a place of positive karmic healing versus what feels like it needs to be potentially relinquished for the sake of coming deeper into the divine union. The energy in the divine union frequency right now, this is also feminine doing the exact same thing as masculine. Because again, this is a feminine that almost, again, masculine is anticipating the need of the feminine when feminine is feeling less than their best self. Masculine's there to support them. And when masculine is feeling less than confident, vulnerable, this is a feminine says it's not your job to be strong all the time. I can do that too. Amplifying that again, the energy is not requiring something of the other. It's there to support the other when there is a lack. It's not just there to facilitate getting something from the other. It is there to facilitate and to provide where there is a lack. That is the difference between something productive, the divine union energy, versus what's outside of it. The energy is not there to get something from the other energy. It is there to provide it when the other needs it. It's moving in a state of cooperation instead of need. The ability to provide forward, to give instead of take. Bottom of the deck. 3 of Cups in its reversal. Masculine around the divine union. It's just that observation point. When you're in the divine union frequency, it's working on a lot of the energy around it is always going to be a bit of a challenge. It's almost that moment that it almost feels like, for again, this is the intentionality right now of purpose that a lot of the energy in the divine union is experiencing and expressing, trying to heal situations and circumstances outside of the frequency. Regulating and navigating these right now is requiring a lot of work. The masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to in the divine union, this is intentional coursework that we see that you're addressing. You're doing a lot of this with intentionality of purpose. You're looking at a lot of unhealed situations and circumstances right now to be able to push forward on that energy of healing. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency, there is this observation that you're just recognizing that as you move into the divine union frequency right now, there's potentially going to be some energy that you feel like is dropping off specifically because they're seeing you in that modality and you're no longer as fun. You're no longer serving that sense of energetic delight to a certain extent with energy around you. It's almost amplifying right now and potentially feeling like there's some energy that doesn't like to see you in that vibration. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is feminine and masculine going through the articulation as it relates to priority. This is feminine that's almost amplifying to masculine. If this is a masculine that literally is in separation with the feminine, because feminine feels like they did not prioritize the feminine needs out over the energy around the masculine. If this is masculine that's insisting that this is not the case, this is feminine that's almost absolutely not refusing to believe that, because this is feminine that feels like they've seen evidence of this. This is requiring a clarification point. This is almost feminine to a certain degree trying to show masculine, if masculine is saying that this is not the case, that they see something observable that needs to be taken into account. And this is even a moment that feminine is trying to identify whether masculine even sees this, because this ability to recognize priority of energy is vital in terms of building positive connections. Masculine, you may be feeling right now, if you're in this modality, energetically, and again, if you're in separation right now, and especially if this led to a situation or circumstance wherein some kind of outside energy pulled you out of a divine union situation, it may be feeling like a lot of drama that's potentially happening around you right now. But again, the problem with this right now for masculine is recognizing that it feels like a lot of this energy potentially around you right now isn't necessarily coming from a place of trying to create conflict so much as there seems like there's a lot of potential chaotic energy around masculine right now that is demanding clarification. So being able to navigate this right now, masculine, and not necessarily looking at this from a point of feeling like energy around you is like against, like trying to move against you, but more trying to get clarification, I think is really important too, because that's that moment of recognizing like how we heal something versus how we make something, more complicated. Because I'm almost seeing here that a lot of this complication right now for masculine, it's feeling heavy, especially in separation. And the ability to heal this is something that I think that is apparent, but it is kind of taking a point of accountability as to potentially why some of the energy around you is in this modality in the first place, especially if there's more than one energy that's in this modality. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.